Hello, I'm Chuck Martin, and welcome to the Voices of the Internet of Things. With me today is Carlos Mendez, CEO and founder of Data Gran, a company focused on artificial intelligence and machine learning. Carlos has been director at J. Walter Thomson in Mexico, whose accounts included Ford, Cadbury Adams, and Kimberly Columbia, and has served as a planner at the agency Leo Burnett. His current focus is on applying machine learning and artificial intelligence to marketing. Welcome, Carlos.
Chuck, thanks for having me and thanks for that intro.
So I'm jealous that I'm sure nice weather down in Colombia right now.
Yeah, it's really nice. I heard that it's gonna snow tonight or today in New York, so that's not good.
It's not good for us. It's good for you. So I wonder if you could start by giving me just sort of your viewpoint of the general state in general of artificial intelligence and machine learning today, and then we'll get into more detail.
Okay, so obviously there's been huge advances in machine learning and AI. Trying to figure it out a lot because obviously at this point AI cannot do what humans do, but evidently it can process much more data than a human can, and we can do pretty awesome stuff, predicting very well with big data sets. But again, we are not being able to make the machine make decisions like humans and have emotions like humans yet. But it's getting there. And again, testing results from this kind of technology versus humans every time the machines are getting better and better. And right now in marketing, we can see really good results in practice. So we're very excited of what we can do with machine learning and AI.
So for AI, there are a lot of different companies doing a lot of different things. Are you all, as the different companies, essentially reinventing the same thing?
No, actually, there are many companies working in different aspects of AI. And I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, and correct me if I'm not saying the correct answer, but you can see companies that are working on automatic having cars that self-drive, and then you have in marketing different kind of AI, and in marketing you can see different kind of stuff. So people that is doing or reducing cost in digital, but then you can see social media stuff. So yeah, in every industry you can see very different things going on within AI.
So are there any crossovers there, or does it basically is it so specialized that, like, for marketing it's totally different than for, say, autonomous driving, that they have to be separate?
I think there are some crossovers, but since problems are so specific, obviously you need to tackle that specific thing and go with it, even though you know that the things that you're doing there could work in other industries or other problems. So yeah, I think like the base of how we do the things and how they resolve the problems can apply to many industries. But again, you need to just focus in the one thing you're kind of resolving and go with that.
So you've been testing now for 2 years, if I understand this correctly. What did you think at the very beginning when you started, and what ended up being correct and what ended up being not correct?
Thanks for that question, because when we started, I just said to myself, "Gosh, we don't know anything about this," and we thought we knew something. And challenges were huge. We started thinking that just by doing things locally in a computer, that was doing machine learning or AI. Then we figured that if you don't do everything in the cloud and process it in real time, then you were starting to do things or interesting things. And those two are huge problems to solve. One thing is to do things locally. do AI locally, and another thing is having the knowledge to put all that in the cloud. So it took us a lot of time to figure that out. So the first year was figuring out how we take this that we have in our computer and make it and put it up there in the cloud and process it in real time.
So did you figure that out?
Yeah, of course. That's why we were able to launch this product. And yeah, so we've traveled a long way in this process, and it's been really exciting.
And some of your clients are some of the biggest names that there are. I mean, Bic, Coors Light, Miller. I mean, Subway. I mean, these are major brands. How did you get them on board?
Well, the first thing we tell them is, hey, try us out. Do a pilot with us. It's for free. You don't have anything to lose. And when you add that, and when you add the transparency part, and when you also add that big companies right now have a lot of issues, again, on transparency, they're willing to try. And of course, when you tell them that you're going to reduce their cost in at least 20%, they want to do it. So they do a pilot test with us. We've shown that after we do pilot tests, we're very successful. Actually, we have a 100% retention after pilot tests. And that's why then we start working with our clients.
So what do you actually do with a Miller, a Subway, a Coors? Walk me through the process.
Okay, so it is important to understand what they did before or how they were working before. So for example, take a Subway. They were working with a huge media agency and different media agencies in Latin America. And the way they work is that they send this media agency their assets or their creative assets, and that media agency would just go into Facebook platform or Google and manually set those ads. What we do differently is that even though Subway is sending us the creative assets, our system does everything automatically. And the main difference is that, firstly, what we do is we create 50 different parameters for just one ad. So if we take in mind that Facebook has more than 2,000 different options to set an ad, it is impossible for a human to do all that. So we create 50 randomly. After we create those 50, we fetch all that information after one day. And after we do that, we take that through our algorithms, and we can predict with those 50 ads all of the 2,000 different options or parameters that Facebook or Google have. And that's how we predict which will be the best ad. And
but you still have the same number of ads that someone would have had before?
No, because again, the Subway, for example, will give the media agency one ad, one creative. And that media agency would just upload that creative into Facebook and set one ad or one set of parameters for that one ad, because they're not able to create 2,000 different options for that same creative.
Oh, so you're actually changing the creative.
Not the
the ad.
One of the things that we do is ask for the client for 5 different creatives. So in there, we start with a difference with media agencies, because media agencies just ask for 1. So we do ask for 5, but for those 5 ads, what we change the parameters so that I explain myself when I talk about parameters is, for example, show this ad only in Instagram, or show it to women and not men, or show it just in the right-hand column. So we make all those variations, which again, Facebook has more than 2,000. We do 50 automatically. When the media agency just does one kind of variation, because they can do the 2,000 options that Facebook has.
So you're basically taking the 5 ads and placing them in the right place at the right time to the right person.
Yes, at the beginning, what we do is set all the possible combinations. And then at the end, with all the information, what we are doing is what you just said, choosing the right placement to the right audience with the right creative at the right time.
And how do you know if it works?
Well, because when we do the pilot test with clients, what they do is that they run at the same time with their big media agencies the same ads, and then they can compare. So at the end of the pilot test, they run the numbers and they say, okay, Data Gran just reduced our cost in 52% or whatever it is.
And where is the cost reduction? Where does that come from?
Okay, so if a client, for example, sets or his goal is to take more people into their website. So the metric there is CPC, cost per click, right?
Right.
So again, what they do is they compare our CPC versus the media agency CPC, and they see who got it lower. And the reason we get it lower is because our ads can perform better, since they're getting to the people that really like the brand, or the people that would take an action. That's why the cost comes down.
So theoretically, you have to serve fewer ads to get the same result.
Exactly.
Got it. So it's really about audience then, isn't it, versus creative?
It's a mix, actually. It's about creatives. It's about audiences, because obviously, for example, if I like bikes, there might be a creative that is more appealing to me. So that's important. And then it's also about placement. So for example, if I'm on vacation, maybe I'm going to look more my iPhone than my computer. So we figure that out automatically in real time.
How do you do that? That sounds like borderline magic.
I know, and that's why at the beginning I told you that these are the things that AI are doing really well, because they can process a lot of information in real time. And how we are doing it is, when we run those 50 ads in that test that we run for a day, we fetch hundreds and thousands of information again in real time. So we know who is clicking on our ads, what age, what interest they have, where they are, tons of information, and we make decisions based on that.
And can this be a global campaign, or would it be domestic in a country?
It can be global.
So you could tell if you were running a campaign that had, I mean, even millions of impressions looking for a CPG company, you could tell what countries work better, or what works in what country and what doesn't work in another country?
Of course. And actually we're doing that. And we're doing that by city, by region, by even by square feet. Is that specific?
So where do you get the actual data on the consumer? Is it through location targeting, or beacons, or GPS?
It's all GPS. So we are connected to Facebook and Google, and they're through API, and they are the ones who provide us all that information. Of course, we also have additional metrics, but most of the information comes from them.
So do consumers have any idea that this is happening kind of behind the scenes in the world?
I think so. And actually, that's why there's been so much debate about privacy and all of that. And I think Facebook and Google have tried to make that public, and that people understand, and that you can opt out if you don't want all that to happen. So I think, yeah, I think people are more know more about that today.
So is the information you get, I've always wondered about this, is it better to be used on the fly, which you obviously can do by serving ads in real time, or basically looking at the information you do in a test and then go back to a Procter & Gamble or a Miller Coors, whoever, and say, this is what we've learned for your advertising by market, and then they might even change their TV advertising based on that knowledge?
Well, Chuck, one of the beauties about this, and I know there's companies out there that right now what they do is they advise based on data that is maybe 1 month old. And one of the things that we've seen is that behavior changes even by week and by days. So we are advising our clients daily based. And that's the beauty of AI because there's no other way of doing it. Humans cannot process that amount of information daily and make decisions based on that daily. Uh, there's just no way.
But can you track using your data? Can you track or identify trends?
Yes, and we also do that, for example, by categories. We can tell clients maybe what's an average CPC in a region, or for example, what kind of creatives is working better for them. But these are just trends that help to make, for example, an asset a little bit better. But if you don't analyze and adapt to the information weekly or daily, you're just not going to do it right.
Well, that implies a lot of in a corporation or an agency or a brand. That implies a lot of real time capability.
And that's one of the biggest discussions right now on how creative agencies can adapt to create assets based on data, on real-time data, and iterate their assets every day or every week. Actually, Diageo is going to be one of our clients, and they told us that they were changing their ad agency because they needed to adapt to that kind of reality, which is iterating your creative assets daily or weekly, and just trusting in the data.
That sounds like it would be really challenging for an established brand.
Exactly. It's a huge challenge. Again, the whole relationship agency client has to change mentality, creative mentality has to change. And of course, I'm not saying that all of it has to be based on data because data is just one one of the things that you have to take in mind, but definitely is going to be a game changer.
So you could actually you got five pieces of creative, for example, and an art director might love the first one and not like the fifth one so much, but your data may come back and say the fifth one is a lot better than the first one, which implies that the data would have an impact on creative.
Definitely. And we're not only doing that, Chuck. We're also telling creatives, hey, the color blue is working better in your creatives, but also emotions like happiness is working better, or sentiment like anger is working better in your text. So yes, we're influencing it a lot, but we're not taking the creative role of just connecting to people, which is something that, again, I mentioned at the beginning, AI is not doing very well yet.
So how does it go over when you go back to a creative and say, I know all of your things are yellow, but blue is what works?
There's a lot of resistance.
So do you have different reaction where some say, I really love this kind of input, and others just say, I don't believe you?
Actually, this kind of technology, we made it in collaboration with an ad agency, and they really love this. And they understand that they have to start playing with, or playing no, just start to work much better with data. And I just think this is going to make their work better. This is increase their performance, which is something they want, and all of us want, just so that businesses grow and get better.
So do you typically deal with the brand or do you typically deal with an agency?
With brands directly.
And how do the agencies like that?
They don't like it.
Well, you came out of the agency world, so you know the agencies.
I know agencies very well. I know that they're very powerful. I know that they're not staying like. I know that they're doing things. I know they're investing in AI. Um, so of course they don't like it because I'm winning big companies. And I've been also talking to them, and they're really great people, and at the end, they'll adopt these kind of technologies.
So it's just a time thing?
Yes.
So is there any other use for this besides digital advertising or online advertising?
Not right now, but it's going there. When you see, well, right now I know there are companies that are using AI for email marketing, but then you're going to see this on TV. TV is going to be programmatic, so you're going to start seeing that there in IoT. I mean, this is going to be huge, and we'll see it everywhere.
So, in terms of the long range impact, where do you see this going? You've been doing this for a couple of years now. If I mean, I know from day one it's different right than it is today. Where do you think it's going to be in a year or two?
I see this start, well, in the short term. Again, this is going to be on TV, but this is going to be integrating with AR, augmented reality, and all that is coming. So we're going to see advertising being much more smart in those kind of devices. And for example, in the near future, where you're going to be in the street and you're going to be able to see descriptions of stuff thanks to AR, and we're going to see this kind of AI intelligence in advertising blending with that kind of information. So there's where I see it.
So what would that look like? I mean, I'm very familiar with AR, but if you're walking down the street and a consumer has their future glasses on and they're seeing, they'd be seeing information as well as ads as they walk down the street?
So yeah, so for example, you might be walking down the street and you are walking through, I don't know, a CVS, and our system would know if you have an interest on kids, if maybe last week you bought something for your kids, and then we can predict that you probably need to buy this other product or the same product. So we'll show you, hey, here's the product that you might need. You want to buy it now. And you just can hit buy or just say buy, and we'll deliver it to your house.
So is that, in that case, is that artificial intelligence, or is that just predictive modeling like Amazon did in its early days?
There's a bunch, and that's a great question, Chuck, because people ask me, what's the difference between AI and machine learning? AI is just the umbrella of everything, and that's the way I see it. So when we do predictive, we are also doing, so for example, to identify where you are, then you have to use AI for example, deep learning. So there's a mix of stuff in all of this, and yeah, we cannot say that it's only predictive because you're predicting what to buy. But when you start adding all the other stuff, then you have the whole thing of AI.
Wow. So a year from now, what does the market look like in terms of marketing and advertising digitally?
Hard to predict. It's really hard. I mean, people are predicting for 100 years now that agencies are just going to disappear.
Yeah, like the paperless office.
Exactly. So it's really hard. What I do think is that data is going to be very important, and it's going to be in every decision, not only for marketers, but also for agencies and media agencies. And right now, we are just at the tipping point of what we can do with that. Again, right now, agencies' main problem is how do they create assets with real-time data? They're not even doing that. So the whole industry is going to be changed based on real-time data.
Great stuff. Thank you, Carlos Mendez, and thank you all for listening to the Voices of the Internet of Things.
Thank you very much, Chuck.